After our 1-0 defeat at Weston Mare, and Gavin, it kind of summed up our season in a way. Defended like heroes and then switched off at a corner and then not much quality at the other end. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I do. That's exactly a fair assessment, which is strange coming from you, to be honest with you. I think absolutely it's a fair assessment. I think tried hard, conceded a poor goal, lacked quality. I think that was where rinse and repeat really from Monday. But you acknowledge that they're a good side, pushing at the right end of the table, and we limited them to. Well, I say not a lot. There's some half decent chances inside our box when they would feel that they probably should have done better. But I'm not sure what we had to shout about. Not a lot, is the truth. So
yeah.
We were obviously lacking considerably with forward options today.
What can you tell the fans about Mare missing and having 2 academy boys on the bench?
Mare's got a slight hamstring injury from Monday, and obviously Cassie's returned to wherever he's returned to, and Eli is on his trial, and I thought long and hard about it, but we have to afford him that. We have to afford him that. So we were lacking in forward options. It was difficult because we didn't really have a lot of penetration today to call into the side with Mare coming out. But that's just how it is.
Interesting formation. You push Nino up straight from the kick-off. What was the thinking behind that, Gavin?
I just feel that Nino has got a chance of a goal in him, as we've seen. I think he probably enjoys it a little bit more playing forward. Is the truth, rather than being a left back. And I felt that we would, we might really get a tune out of him today. So yeah, that was the thinking behind it. Ollie's played a lot of football recently, been away during the week, so we just changed it up really. With Room being available, just felt that was probably the way to go.
And late on, Sav coming off, was that tactical or did he have a knock?
He's got a slight. I think his groin is tight. And there's a lot of tightness out there.
Yes.
A lot. We've had a lot of football, and we're a small squad.
Yes.
And, we see Kobe coming off the bench to make his debut. I don't think yesterday he expected to be making his debut at Weston Mare. That's the truth.
Probably didn't expect even to be on the bench.
No, he probably wouldn't have given it any thought. But it's also very important that when the right time, when it's the right time, and also when it presents that when we have a little bit of a shortfall in the squad, that we bring these people through. And we've seen Jay and Ethan and Eli more regular in the squad, but now Kobe sort of comes in and makes his debut at the level, and it's important that we're enthusiastic about bringing our academy boys through, because next season there may be large chunks of that.
You want, indeed, Gavin, you wanted very much to try and win the game for the fans. You told me yesterday to try and win 3 games on the bounce. We haven't been able to do it, but with all the changes of shape and personnel, it was always going to be extremely difficult.
You're playing against a good side, and you're having to change what you're doing, change your shape, with a lack of options in certain areas, and so I just look at it and think, okay, I'll be honest, I expected a little bit more from us today. If I'm honest, I expected a little bit more quality. That is certainly lacking. We know we've got more quality than what we showed today, but it never shone through. And as you say, some great defending at times. Tried hard, conceded a poor goal, which is if you wanted to sum it up, probably where we are. Why where we are? That's it.
2 more games, Gavin. At the risk of you saying that the requirement is to try and get 6 points. I mean, how important is it to actually, finish the season on a positive note, so the fans can at least, go home at the end of the season after Slough and Hampton thinking, well, we finished off with at least trying to pick up as maximum points if we can.
Well, there's an obligation on us to try and win every game. I don't care of the circumstances that surrounds it. I've just said to the boys in there, I understand, right, that relegation is only just happened.
Yeah.
And I understand that human nature sometimes will kick in to say, well, we'll just play the season out. I don't want to allow that to happen, and I'm driving that not to happen.
So it's very difficult mentally.
Yeah. It is, and it's human nature. That's the truth. But when you look at the number of fans that have travelled today, they've applauded the team off the game, then that alone should give them me, management team, desire to want to win the last 2 football matches because they're the football club. That's as simple as it is. You know, this weighs, to be very candid, this weighs extremely heavy on me at the moment. You know, it's no time to wallow. We've got games to play. We have to get back in planning to try and give a positive result today. It hasn't happened, so now we turn our attention to Slough and the fact that we need to produce a positive result there. You know, I accept that I'm accountable, and that's the truth.
We hope, just lastly, Gavin, we hope the shackles might come off. They didn't today. It can, as you say, it can work the other way. Mentally, you can, even if you don't want to, switch off and not quite put in the same effort. Sometimes situations emerge where, you know, your head takes over from your heart, if you like.
No, listen, the shackles to an extent were off. We played 1 up because of the lacking in forward options. We've obviously been playing 2 up. That wasn't a conscious effort to sit behind the ball. It was a, you know, how are we best suited. And with that, when you start to play a 1 up who is more of a hold up player rather than someone who's going to run in behind, you have to pass the football.
Yeah. We didn't pass it enough, Gavin.
We didn't pass it well enough. Is the truth.
Yeah.
We didn't complete enough passes, and I've said to them that I would expect people to do a lot better. There were some good footballers on that pitch who I don't believe showed necessarily enough that they were today, and you know, I'll be looking for them to push that on in training and produce more quality against Slough.
Gavin, absolutely lastly, obviously the players will be thinking what to do at the end of the season. It's not the end of the season yet. It's inevitable, I suppose, this football club will lose certain players, but let's finish where we started. We haven't done enough in both boxes today, and as I said from the start, it summed up the season as a whole.
You don't get relegated by fluke. You know, you get relegated because that's essentially where you are, and we can look at certain games that haven't gone our way over the season, but you don't get relegated by fluke. So at the end of the day, yes, people will move on from this football club. That's inevitable, and the club is the most important thing.
It's still got a lot going for it.
It has, and it's the most important thing. So now, what needs to happen is there needs to be some strategy about how we now evolve from where we are, which is actually going to be very difficult. You know, there's bound to be cutbacks. There's bound to be players going. And it's very, very important period in the club's history now that we get some sort of plan together in respect of where we're going, because, you know, in truth, we've come up and it's, you know, we've tried to roll with it, really is the truth of it, and we haven't quite. We just managed to scrape it last season. I said to you at the start of the season, this is going to be much tougher.
Yeah.
For us, and
you'll prove right.
Well, I can see the way the league was going. I can see through recruitment when you're trying to speak to players, and players, you know, you're not getting what you need to come in. That I can see the sorts of money that was being paid around clubs in the league, that you're going to struggle to attract those players, and so it needs some real thinking, some real strategy now about how that happens, how we get back to this level, and that, you know, we have to accept that may not be an immediate return. You know, we have to accept that. You know, in isolation at the moment, you know, this weighs heavy for me, because I actually believe, when I talk about all the things about strategy and trying to bring ourselves up to a club at the level, regardless of that, I always think we can be good enough, and we haven't been.
Thank you, Gavin. See you